Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Right. Hello, I'm Stanley, SEO team lead at Hallam. Enough about me. Here's what we're going to talk about today. Shit, my organic traffic's declining, what to do and how to recover. So essentially, it's what to do when we see a graph like this in Google Analytics. Yes, I am still using Universal Analytics because GA4 is scary and confusing and I don't want to do it, so I'm going to cling on to this for the remaining 24 hours. Why do we need to know what to do? Because it's scary and confusing when we see something like that. It can lead us to make the wrong decisions regarding SEO, start implementing the wrong strategies, when really we need to think about things in a calm and rational way in terms of how we can start to recover. So what we're going to cover today, working out if your organic traffic has actually dropped, or if we can blame someone in the analytics department, for example. Secondly, ruling out external factors. Can we blame the weather as a cause for our organic traffic dropping? Thirdly, investigating website issues that may have caused organic traffic to drop. Can we blame any developers? Before talking about when Google may have caused organic traffic to drop, so in terms of algorithm updates. And finally, some ideas at the end on how we can improve our content and our website if we've been hit by a suspected algorithm update from Google. First things first, when it comes to when we see a drop like that in Google Analytics, first thing we want to do is head over to Google Search Console and verify whether we see that same pattern in Search Console as we do in Google Analytics. For example, here we can see Google Analytics on the top, Google Search Console on the bottom. Google Analytics has fallen off a cliff. If this were a suspected Google, if this was a real drop in Google traffic, we'd expect the same thing to happen in Google Search Console. But in this case, that's not the case. Google Analytics is probably broken because we're still recording traffic from Search Console, so we can blame someone else, probably in the analytics and tracking department. I then want to verify this using third-party tools, so we can use things like SEMrush or Ahrefs. We should use these probably at least a month after that drop in analytics because they take a little while to gather the data. But in these tools, they've got a traffic estimation graph. We'd expect to see the broad pattern of traffic following what we see in Google Analytics. So again, if we're not seeing that same pattern of traffic declining, it's another thing to suggest that the drop is, the cause, sorry, is in Google Analytics tracking itself. However, if in Google Search Console we see the same pattern as in Google Analytics, then we do indeed have a real traffic drop. We might start getting a bit scared and a bit confused. Before we do that though, we should look at some external factors that may have caused organic traffic to drop. We might be able to explain this away. Not ghosts causing it. Like a ghost, there might be a rational explanation for the traffic drop. Seasonality is a big thing. In SEO particularly, that can cause traffic to go up and traffic to go down, with the main one being Christmas, of course. So between Christmas and New Year, traffic may be likely to fall off a cliff and then it will recover. What we want to do if we see that drop in Google Analytics is compare year on year. So if we see the same pattern happening every single year, then we can probably relax a little bit, like I was on holiday in Amsterdam a couple of weeks ago, with the caveat that we need to explain to whoever's going to pick on us about traffic declining that this is expected, it happens every year, we're probably going to come out of it again once this particular period is over. I would like to continue trying to blame other people before I accept full responsibility for any SEO issues. So even though they're nerds, chat to your paid media colleagues. It may be the case that organic traffic has declined because paid media traffic has started taking those clicks. Ultimately, it might not be a huge problem for the business because we're still getting the traffic, hopefully still getting the conversions, but of course we are now paying for clicks on queries that we were once getting for free. What it might be worth doing in this case is chatting with your paid media colleagues, understanding where you had strong organic rankings, you were getting strong organic traffic from certain queries, signposting these as ones that potentially paid could stop bidding so aggressively on because you were getting that organic traffic anyway. But it's one potential cause for a decline in organic traffic. One final thing to bear in mind is the fact that we're in a situation right now of economic turmoil and strife and unprecedented decline in demand for pretty much everything. So we may have to accept the possibility that there's fewer people interested in buying whatever we have to offer right now. One way we could look at this is looking at Ian Rankin, author, Rankin's rankings, our organic rankings. If rankings have remained strong and stable, but we've seen organic traffic decline, this could signify a drop in demand for our products. We can verify this using Google Trends, so type in what you think has lost demand just to verify your supposition. For example, we can see that demand for Stanley Dunthorne has reached an all-time low of 0 from the heady highs of 2004. Heading back over to Google Search Console, we can look at rankings in Search Console as well, of course. So we see here rankings have declined at the same time as traffic, which probably is starting to signify a SEO problem. But there's one very important question I would like to posit before I accept full responsibility that we have an SEO issue that we need to fix, and it's, are you making less money as a result of this traffic loss? By that I mean, is the traffic that we've lost high quality traffic, or have we merely lost low quality traffic that wasn't really providing any value for us anyway? To use an example from the Hallam website. So we saw this happen on one of our blogs. It was a social media glossary blog. In May 2022, when there was an algorithm update, initially looked quite scary and quite confusing. When we looked in detail, though, at the terms that we'd actually lost, it was all this garbage. Social media with T, S, F, I, like all the letters of the alphabet. I have no idea where it came from or what it was doing. But it was providing no value to the website whatsoever, or value to us as a business. So we lost that traffic, but I went back to relaxing in Amsterdam because it wasn't really providing any value for us in the first place. Again, with the caveat that that's something that needs to be explained to whoever's going to pick on you about declining organic traffic. However, if rankings have gone down, traffic has gone down, and revenue or your conversions have gone down, finally I admit that we have an SEO problem that needs to be fixed. First thing I would look at, because more often than not this is going to be the cause of organic traffic loss, is issues with your website. So we see something like this, trying to work out what happened after we have explained away seasonality, explained away paid media, explained away declining demand, Theresa May, things like that. Compare the period after the drop in Google Search Console to the period preceding the drop. And what we're looking to do here is identify any patterns in terms of the types of URLs that we've seen a decline in traffic. For example, is there a specific folder that's dropped off? Is it a site-wide drop in organic visibility? That seems to be affecting most URLs. Or my favorite one, and probably the easiest to fix, has one very high traffic URL been taken off the site by accident, and it's an easy fix because we can put it back. So look at the types of pages that have lost traffic. If it's a site-wide visibility drop, this is the trickiest to deal with. But before we blame the Google algorithm straight away, we need to look at changes that we might have made to our own website. Perhaps unbeknownst to you, as the SEO, it could have been things that other people might have done. And whilst I'd recommend carrying out a full audit, there's 3 key things that I'd like you to pay attention to, because these more often than not, the causes of a traffic drop will fall in these 3 key areas. So first, content. Has the content been changed in any way whatsoever that could have caused this drop? So has someone thought it's a good idea to take all the content off product pages, for example? Is the content still there, but someone's changed it? Have headings changed on the pages? Have headings been removed? Things like that. Secondly, internal linking. So if the links in your navigation have changed in any way, that's likely to impact SEO, likely to impact visibility and traffic. Likewise, if you've got footer links at the bottom of your website, if those have changed at all, that can have impacts on visibility. And finally, something like a no-follow tag being added to all your internal links could mess things up for you. And the most important one, URL structure. So it's a golden rule of SEO to never change a URL unless you absolutely have to. And if you take one thing away from today, I would suggest it be that. So URLs can change in more blatant ways. For example, you might rename a whole folder and you might notice that easily. However, it can also be quite a subtle change. So a trailing slash added to the end of a URL or taken away from a URL counts to Google as a new URL. Likewise, www at the front of a URL, if that's removed or added, that's a new URL. Google does not like seeing new URLs. We want to keep URLs the same as much as we can. If you catch that quite quickly, within a week or two, then simply revert the change if you can. If not, make sure 301 redirects are in place from the old to the new version. When it comes to looking at changes with the internal navigation, internal linking and content, I'd recommend using a tool like Wayback Machine to look at versions before the drop and after the drop. Play a game and spot the difference. Again, on your high traffic pages that have lost the most traffic, revert the changes if you can. That would be the ideal scenario. And technical changes, I would recommend doing a full technical audit. Of course, if we see a drop like that in Google Analytics, I'm not going to go through all the technical things that could impact traffic today because that would be boring. But again, there's 3 key things that can affect Google's ability to crawl, index, and rank your content, to discover your URLs. And the 3 things are, firstly, the robots.txt file. Robots.txt file, we can control Google's ability to crawl our URLs. This here would block Googlebot along with every other crawler from crawling our content, which is something we want to avoid. The no index tag. If we want URLs to be indexed and visible in Google, we don't want them to have a no index tag. Something that we've seen happen before is just by accident, for some reason, a no index tag has been added to every single URL. So check that's not happened. And finally, the canonical tag. So canonical tags are used to indicate to Google the preferred version of a URL that you want to rank. If the canonical tag is anything other than that preferred version, it can lead to issues with Google crawling and discovering your content. Not had time to go into detail on each of those. There are 3 things to bear in mind. Do a bit of research around. Talk to an SEO person if you're not sure, or come and grab me afterwards if you want a bit more detail. But the good thing with each of these is if you catch them fairly quickly and you think this is the cause, after the drop, revert to the previous version of each of these and you should see traffic recover relatively quickly in SEO, couple weeks, couple months. Understanding what Google's looking for, or pretty much what might happen after a suspected algorithm update. Oh my God. So how do we know if we've been impacted by, there we go. So worth bearing in mind, Google updates its algorithm every single day, a lot of times, but the core updates happen every 6 months or so. And these are the ones that have a lot more impact, much more likely to impact your website, indeed any website across a range of industries. And core updates are about Google reevaluating what it deems to be the most relevant search results and return most relevant results to the user. How to know if we've been impacted by a core update or any Google algorithm update? We're not told by Google, so if you get a manual penalty, you're told in Google Search Console and you can take actions to remedy that. We have to work it out ourselves when it comes to suspected algorithm updates. So again, back to Google Analytics, compare Google traffic with Bing traffic. If Google traffic goes down, but Bing traffic remains the same, it's likely a Google update because Google's the only one affected. If Google traffic goes down and Bing traffic goes down, it's likely one of the site issues that we were just talking about. There's a few tools around that allow us to look at traffic data overlaid with the dates of algorithm updates. So this is one I like from rival agency Barracuda called the Penguin tool. Penguin tool uses your actual Google Search Console data and it overlays that with dates of algorithm updates. So this was May 2022, which was a big core update. See here, Google Search Console clicks get a bit fucked at that point. So we can, after ruling out site issues, technical issues, seasonality, we can probably safely assume that an algorithm update had an impact then. If that's the case, we want to look at the SERP, the search engine results page, and look what has changed. To use this example, project management software. So this is page 1 of Google for project management software. What we see here is that every URL ranking is a best project management software comparison blog. What there's none of, there's no product pages. So the intent here is for users to compare, to do research, is not to buy. We see this happening as well, for example, after an update, e-commerce product pages could all disappear to be replaced by informational blog content, or vice versa. So that can have really detrimental impacts on your visibility and your traffic. The main thing we can do here to recover is to try and make sure we have the type of content that matches the intent that Google is displaying. So in this case, very interestingly, Hive.com, who are ranking first for this, they are a project management software platform. They sell their own project management software. Yet in this blog, they're listing 71 of their main competitors for project management software. But that has allowed them to maintain ranking for this incredibly valuable term in page 1 because they've matched the search intent. I bet previously they probably had a product page ranking for this. Google shifted things around, so they've changed the intent of the content that they have ranking. So bearing in mind that intent, there's a few more things we can look at to better meet the needs of our Google overlords when it comes to making our website better. And Google have actually told us what to do if you're hit by an algorithm update. This article is from 2019. This is what it's called. I would recommend reading it. What site owners should know after core updates. In this article, Google have listed quite a lot of questions that users should ask themselves if they think they've been impacted by an update, but I think they're really useful to look at just in terms of evaluating your content generally. I've picked out a few of these that I would be asking myself when looking at a website after a suspected algorithm update, because I think they're most important. So what are competitors that are now outranking you doing differently? So what type of experience is the content that competitors have delivering? Is it far richer than what you have? Is it a lot longer? Is it a lot shorter? Things like that. Secondly, and an easy one, is your content relevant and up to date? It's absolutely essential for publishers to be keeping their content fresh. I would recommend, if you have a lot of content, auditing it and looking at how much value that content is still delivering. If you've got old press releases, for example, going back 10 years, just get rid of anything that's no longer valuable on the website, that's no longer delivering traffic. If you've got content that is relevant, but it's a few years old, update that content. I would make sure we show the update date, if possible, within that content. Google likes that sort of thing. And users like that sort of thing as well. If you're on the SERP, think of the click-through rate. If you're choosing what to click on, you're more likely to click on something from 2023 than an old blog article from 2017. This ties in with what Julio was saying earlier. So I think this is going to be really important when we consider the onslaught of crap that's going to be coming towards us from ChatGPT. What original information or insight can your content provide that everyone else isn't already doing? So think about maybe how we can get experts within the business to deliver that unique opinion. Something that's different to what everyone else is doing. What we don't want to do is just regurgitate all the GPT written blogs that are already out there. And that's something that's going to become increasingly challenging. And in a similar vein, why should we trust you and your content? What I would like to see on, what I like to see on published articles is a bio of the author. You'll see this on most decent publications with good SEO. So a bio of the author listing their expertise, their authority in the topic that they're writing about. Helps Google understand why we should trust them. It helps users understand why we should trust them. And Google likes what users like. What we could also do is link to all the related articles that that author has published on the same topic. And it helps Google start building up its understanding of that author and that website's topical expertise. Again, thinking about the onslaught of GPT written crap, it's things like this that will help make the difference for you as an authoritative publication. Ultimately, it comes down to making sure that every URL on your site is adding value. So you need to have a really good look at your pages, and I'd recommend simply getting rid of anything that is not adding value, updating and improving what we can to ensure that we're meeting these needs that Google sets out that we can read. If we do that, this is the sort of timescales we're working with. So if you think you've been smacked about a bit by a Google algorithm update, you're going to have to wait until the next update that comes along, so 6 months. Maybe the one after, so 12 months. And this is the sort of timescales that we've got to be working with that you'll have to make people in your business aware of. But we can see here it works. November 2021 update, spent the interim period updating, improving content, getting rid of rubbish, answering the questions that Google poses. 2022 update rolls around and we see a reversal of fortunes. So to summarize, first of all, work out if your traffic has actually dropped, because that's not always the case. Rule out external factors that could have led to declining traffic. Look at what website issues could have happened, whether technical or content-based. Understand when Google can be the cause. Don't jump to conclusions and blame Google straight away. Finally, make your website better, make your content better, and remember those long timescales of at least 6 months in terms of improvement. Thank you very much.
stages. Alternatively, if you want to stay here, we have Michael Younger, Marketing and Campaigns Manager